We finally get our first look at The Thing from the Fantastic Four set, and they're going practical. Scarlett Johansson's going to go up against some dinosaurs in the new Jurassic Park movie. The released red band trailer of Terrifier 3 looks disturbing. And stay tuned, because we're going to rank our favorite Wolverine cameos from Deadpool Wolverine. Davis, how you feeling?
Hype. Yeah, man. I'm excited. We got our first look at The Thing. They are going practical. There's a video that was taken from above where they're kind of putting the mask in. And I do want to say, I don't think that they are going as practical as people seem to be saying. When you go full practical effect, you can't just take the head off and on like that. Like in the early Fantastic Four movie, Michael Chiklis, when he got put in that costume, he was the Thing for a full day. He didn't just take that head on and off. So I kind of think that this is more of a stand-in prop for the actors on set to have something to look at. If you look at these images from Age of Ultron and Infinity War, you can see that there typically is some kind of stand-in suit or head for them to look at, as opposed to just looking into a tennis ball when doing their scene. It helps them get into the role a little bit more. I don't think this is going to be the final look for The Thing, but I do think it's a promising look at what we're going to end up getting in the final result, and I'm excited.
They're giving him that thick brow line, getting some Jack Kirby, even some like more recent Alex Ross vibes from this. This is all good things, and I do really enjoy practical effects as it pertains to how they try to bring it to life on the screen. I mean, we just got done talking about Alien Romulus, and I think that's the main reason why that movie is performing so well. And this isn't the only time we've seen The Thing on the screen. And you were surprised, Davis, when we were talking about this in the pre-show, that there was a Fantastic Four movie that was released back in 1994. You have to see this.
Yeah, this movie has somehow flown under my radar. I was not aware of this, and looking at these images, he is terrifying looking. I mean, I don't necessarily love the design, but he's scary, and I do like conveying that kind of look with The Thing, because he's a scary monster, man. If you go up against that guy, you're gonna be a little freaked out.
He is known as the monster of the first Marvel family. Well, let's actually table that one, because most people don't know about that film. Let me know in the comment section below if you've ever seen that. It's atrocious, but I watched it growing up. We also have to talk about the Fox Fantastic Four movies, which I think I agree with you, right, Davis? Like, those movies aren't as bad as people make them out to be.
Yeah, obviously people like to harp on the cloud version of Galactus from the second movie, and that was a terrible choice. I agree with that, of course. But outside of that, I think these movies are kind of slept on. They're fun. They had some good character iterations. I think the Silver Surfer was well done. I think that I think Human Torch, Chris Evans did a great job as him. So I think those movies are a little slept on, and I really liked Michael Chiklis as the Thing. That was pretty much full practical, and it looked great.
Yeah, the only critique I had about him was that he was very orange, like almost suntan orange, and he also was a little thin. Like, I do like a more... Honestly, I want a character that can go up against the Hulk, man. And I'm not talking Professor Hulk.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the limitations, though, of going full practical, is they couldn't have made him that much more massive, because it was just a guy in a suit at the end of the day. So I think having the modern technology that we've now got mixed with practical, that's what it seems like they're going for with this new Fantastic Four First Steps. And I think that you're going to get exactly what you want out of this.
Well, Fantastic Four First Steps shows The Thing with a more classic-looking Fantastic Four uniform on top of the rocks. Like, we're not just getting the, like the Speedo thing going on. Well, it's kind of the opposite route from the 2015 movie that everyone wants to forget, where The Thing is massive, he's very scary, and the rocks aren't necessarily like uniform. They're kind of like all sticking out every which way, and just like doesn't wear any clothes.
Yeah, we got Naked Rock Man, and nobody wants to see a Naked Rock Man.
Which is your favorite version of The Thing in the comment section below? I'm sticking with Fantastic Four First Steps. I think they're going in the right direction. And speaking of right direction, let's talk about Jurassic Park. I feel like the Jurassic World trilogy is a little forgetful, and that they never fulfill the promise of the title, Jurassic World.
Yeah, I do think they're actually going to correct that with this new movie. Let me hit you with the synopsis real quick. 5 years after the events of Jurassic World domination, the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable to dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The three most colossal creatures within that tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. So I think it's kind of interesting, because if you think about it, if dinosaurs were introduced to our world, we would have to bend around that, obviously, right? We would have to adapt to what our life is like if dinosaurs existed around us. And you would think that, similar to like scientists using snake venom in medicine, I imagine that if dinosaurs started to exist in our world, that scientists would do the same thing and trying to figure out how to use them for modern medicine, which is the direction they're going. And also, it kind of brings it into the real world a little bit more. It seems like they are kind of saying, okay, if Jurassic Park had happened and dinosaurs existed in our world, what would that be like? And that's what they're kind of exploring here. We do have our first little bit of what Scarlett Johansson's role is going to be in this movie. It says covert operations expert Zora Bennett attempts to secure the genetic material from the dinosaurs, but ends up stranded with a civilian family on an island that holds the secret being kept from humanity for decades. So we are getting the kind of classic Jurassic Park dynamic of some experts that have to deal with some civilians trying to keep them alive. And I think that that's the case because this movie was actually scripted by David Cope. David Cope actually worked on Jurassic Park and The Lost World. So, you know, he is very knowledgeable about this franchise. And I have a feeling they're doing that to kind of bring the classic Jurassic Park feel back to this franchise.
Each of the Jurassic World movies have brought in $1 billion. This is a giant IP. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do with this, knowing that they're getting some A-list actors, because it's not just Scarlett Johansson, it's Mahershala Ali, who's supposed to be filming Blade. What's going on with that movie? I digress. Loved him in Luke Cage, Cottonmouth. Fantastic. But those two giant actors are going to take this movie probably to the next step.
Let's talk about Terrifier 3.
This trailer looks wild, dude. So true story, I actually started watching the first Terrifier movie on an airplane headed to a convention, and I actually turned it off. I thought it was a little weird to watch that movie because of how gory it was. Now, I haven't seen the entire movie, but I know you have. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, watching that movie on an airplane is crazy. If there's a little kid sitting next to you, you changed his life forever that day. But anyway, yeah, I'm not a big fan of these movies or this franchise. I think that if we're being real, the whole franchise is really carried by Art the Clown's design. People just really like the way he looks, and people want to have him in the conversation for horror icons already when he doesn't really have a reason to be in that conversation. I mean, neither of those first two movies are very good in my opinion.
From the scenes that I did see, they were definitely leaning more on comedy, which is not my cup of tea as it pertains to horror movies. The acting wasn't great. The gore was excessive. And I'm a big fan of Saw. I like feeling uncomfortable when I watch horror movies, but this is definitely taking it to an extreme. I'm curious, based off of what you've seen, in your opinion, is there any other redeeming qualities to these movies beyond the gore?
No, I don't. I think that these movies do really rely on the violence itself, and that's about it. The story is very thin, and it kind of just goes, here's 30 minutes of gore, and then here's a small amount of story, and then here's 30 more minutes of violence, and then back to a little bit of story. And there's really not that much more to offer besides that. I think the acting isn't great. I feel like the story isn't great. I feel like the cinematography isn't even that great. This one does feel like a step up. It does have a bit more of a budget, but in my opinion, man, I just think that this movie gets so much love and attention, and there's so many other good low-budget horror movies that fly under the radar. I have never understood why this one gets so much love, but you know, a lot of people like it, so maybe I'm in the minority here.
They are doing something pretty interesting with this, though. They're making it a Christmas-themed horror movie to be released in October, which may seem confusing, but they want to ride the Halloween wave and then soon after release it on streaming services to then ride that Christmas wave. What do you think about this franchise? Do you agree with Davis? Do I need to watch this movie? Which brings us to the last segment. I've been waiting to chat with you about this. We saw so many different Wolverines in Deadpool Wolverine, and I want to chat about it. I want to know which ones are your favorite, and I want to know the community's favorite as well, because some of these were straight up just doing fan service for comic readers specifically.
So what, you just want to like go through the ones in the movie and rank which one was our favorite?
Absolutely. Let's figure out where we agree, where we disagree, and then the community can like also comment down below. I mean, I'm assuming Short Wolverine, although was awesome to see, was not your favorite.
No, although he was fun, and I do think he was a cool addition, I kind of feel like that was more put in there because people talk about actors having to be a certain height to play the character, and it was more shutting down the idea that it has to be a short actor, and this is how goofy it'll look if that was actually the case.
I feel similarly to Calverine, where it was awesome to see him, you know, with the claws as Wolverine because of the prospects of him possibly taking on the mantle. There's a lot of rumors of that, right? But there are other Wolverines for sure that I was more excited to see. What about you?
Personally, I did like Henry Cavill as Wolverine in this quick little clip. And honestly, if they did cast him as our Wolverine, I would be excited about that. I think that my runner up to my favorite in the movie would probably be the Age of Apocalypse one with the, you know, the big goofy hair and the very 90s aesthetic and the one hand. I think that was just a fun little Easter egg. And I really liked the look of how that scene was done.
The violence was really sourced from the comics, you know, really brutal version. But my favorite adaptation has to be Wolverine as Patch. Seeing him, you know, from his first ongoing solo series with the eye patch, just being a baller. That was a really cool moment.
Patch is definitely up there for me, and I did go back and forth with this, but I think that his scene was maybe a little bit too short, and I would have loved to see a little bit more of it, which leads me to what my favorite cameo was, and that has to be the crucifixion of Wolverine. Well, straight off of the cover of Mark Silvestri's Uncanny X-Men 251, this one, I let out a gasp when I saw this, because I was not expecting them to do, I don't want to say a deep cut, because if you're a comic reader, you know this cover, but to the general audience, the people that made this $1 billion movie, I would doubt that maybe even more than 5% of people knew what this was homaging. And I think that's a really cool nod to the people that made this movie possible, the comic readers.
Yeah, I've seen this movie more than once, and each time with somebody who wasn't as familiar with comic books. And it was clear that they were seeing something cool, but I was over in the corner just freaking out, looking at this comic cover brought to life.
Honorable mention to the Hulk 340 homage, the classic brown and gold costume, John Byrne, was a super cool touch and another really nice nod to comic book fans.
There is no wrong answer, but let us know in the comment section below which was your favorite. And as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said.